Hi, it's Andy here at Photech Video, and in today's short video we're going to take a look at how the aperture setting on your lens affects the depth of field in your images. And we're going to be doing that using my 10-year-old entry-level Sony a5100 coupled with the 16 to 50 mm f3.5 to f5.6 kit lens. Nothing new and nothing fancy. And the question is, can we get a blurry, out of focus, shallow depth of field using our cheap kit lens? We're about to find out. Several people have asked me, can you get a blurry, out of focus background using a cheap kit lens? So let's take a look at some of the variable factors which can influence the sharpness of focus in your image, background and foreground. One of those variable factors is the distance between your camera and your subject. Another is the distance between your subject and your background. The focal length of the lens also affects the depth of field in your images. And of course, the aperture of the lens also plays an important role in the amount of depth of field in your images. So some of these variable factors do not depend on the characteristics of the lens, and others do. The distance from camera to subject is something which we can decide ourselves. And we can also decide on the distance between our subject and our background. The variable factors which we cannot control so much are the aperture of the lens and the focal length of the lens. Remember that we're going to be using our kit lens for these test images. And because most kit lenses have a fixed maximum aperture depending on the focal length of the zoom of that lens, this means that as you zoom from the widest focal length to the narrowest focal length, the aperture f-stop number increases, meaning that the physical opening on your lens gets smaller. I'm not going to go into the physics of depth of field and bombard you with a number of diagrams related to distances, but I am going to simplify the idea with a couple of generalizations. So, as a general rule, the lower the f-stop number, which means the opening in your lens is wider, the more out of focus your background and possibly your foreground. And the narrower your focal length, the closer your lens brings your subject to the camera, the more compression between your subject and background, and therefore the more out of focus your background. As I said before, this is a general rule, and other factors can influence the results in your images. So I imagine that you can instantly see the problems which could arise using a kit lens. For example, my Sony 16mm to 50mm f3.5 to f5.6 kit lens gives me quite a wide aperture at 16mm, to be exact, f3.5. And as I mentioned in the general rules, a wider aperture in theory will give us a more blurry background, a shallower depth of field. However, because we're at 16mm, which is a wide focal length, compression between the subject and the background is minimum, and therefore it doesn't help us to create this blurry background or shallow depth of field. So you might think then that the solution is to zoom in to 50mm. However, if we do that, then the widest aperture is going to be f5.6. So by zooming in to compress our subject with our background, we have increased the f number, making our aperture narrower. So what does that actually mean? If we want to get the widest aperture on our kit lens, we need to use the widest focal length. And if we want to use a narrower focal length, we need to use a narrower aperture. And this is why it can be difficult to obtain blurry backgrounds or a shallow depth of field using your kit lens and only the variables of the lens itself. We need to apply the other variables, which were the distance between the camera and the subject and the distance between this subject and the background. So the other day I went out armed with my Sony a5100 and my 16 to 50mm f3.5 to f5.6 kit lens to see how changing the aperture changes the depth of field in the images. To do this, I set my camera to aperture priority mode. Like that, I'd be able to change my aperture setting in each image, and the camera would adjust the shutter speed to give me a correct exposure. And I set my ISO value to 100, which is the minimum ISO value which I can get on this camera. I took 3 sets of photos at varying apertures. I wanted to see how much of the background would be blurred at each of these apertures. To be able to get the widest aperture of f3.5, I set my focal length to 16 millimeters, and I kept it there for all of the different aperture test shots. So let's take a look at those images to see whether or not we can get a blurry, out of focus, shallow depth of field using a cheap kit lens. And also let's take a look at how narrower apertures, higher f-stop numbers, create an image with a more in focus background. Remember that out of focus backgrounds or shallow depth of field images may not be the perfect look for every image. You may want your image to show the background clearly and in focus, or you may want your background to be blurred to give more attention to your in focus subject. Before we take a look at those images, if you've got this far in the video, you must be liking it or finding it useful. So please, if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. This first image was shot at f3.5, and as you can see, I'm quite close to the subject. The subject is completely in focus, but the background is blurry and out of focus, or rather, it has a shallow depth of field. This image is shot at f5.6, and the background is not as sharp as the subject, but it's not as out of focus as in the f3.5 image. This image is shot at f8, and now you can see that the background is beginning to get sharper. This one was shot at f11, and again the background is sharper still. Here we have an image shot at f16, and this image was shot at f22, which is a very narrow aperture. As you can see, the background is much sharper. So let's take a look at the other 2 sets of test images using those same settings with the subject more or less the same distance from the camera, but with a different subject to background distance. Okay, so the answer to the question, can I get a blurry out of focus background or shallow depth of field using my kit lens, is yes. Is it as impressive as the out of focus or the bokeh which you can obtain from a more expensive prime lens? No. That's one of the reasons why you pay a lot more money for a prime lens than for a kit lens. The important thing with any lens, whether it's a prime lens or a kit lens, is to know how the different apertures and how the different focal lengths will affect your image. And also to know how the camera to subject distance and the subject to background distance affects your images when you use your lenses. And again, just as a reminder, not all images need a blurry, out of focus, shallow depth of field, and not all images need to have a perfectly in focus depth of field. There is no right or wrong. I hope this short video has helped you to understand how the characteristics of your lens can affect your images, and also how the distance from camera to subject and subject to background again can affect the depth of field in your images. Remember that photography is fun, so pick up your camera, practice, 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 and experiment, experiment, experiment. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the comment section down below. I always read your comments, I always answer your questions, and I love interacting with you. If you liked this video and found it interesting, please click on the like button and share it with any friends, family, or social media groups that you think may also find it interesting. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe, and while you're at it, ring on that notification bell to be notified every time a new video drops on my channel. You'll find affiliate links to gear used in the making of this video in the description section down below. If you purchase something through one of my affiliate links, thank you for supporting the channel. The price to you will be the same, and I will receive a small commission, which will help me to continue creating content for you here on my channel. So until the next time, this is Andy at Photech Video signing off. Take care and be safe.